We've reviewed a lot of different albums this year, all the way from the underground to the mainstream, but 2021 was a super strong year for hip hop. Probably one of the best years in hip hop since 2018 because of all the different surprises that you got, all the different comebacks, and the different types of grand rollouts that we got through albums. So, guys, today we're going to be going through our top 10 albums of the year. Lou brought his list, I brought my list, and we're going to be doing content like this on the daily here at the podcast. Next week, we have our award show, NFR's own award show on December 29th, a Wednesday night, a full-blown live stream where you guys could come in, kick back, and listen to our nominations of the year, see what ends up getting chosen, all the controversy, all the cool stuff that ends up happening with an award show is going to be in that one session. Plus, we're going to be having different giveaways throughout it. It's going to be a super fun experience, so subscribe if you have not already. I hope to see you guys there. But Lou, man, take me through some different honorable mentions that you have, because there's a lot of different albums that came out this year, and there was a couple that didn't crack my list for 2021.
It's so hard to narrow down because, I looked at replay value, originality of the projects, concepts. But yeah, it was hard to, actually crack down a top 10 list. So some honorable mentions include The Color Blue by D2X, Pray for Haiti by Mac Homie, All the Brilliant Things by Sky Zoo, Coup de Grace by Ransom and Rome Streets, Elephant in the Room by Mick Jenkins, Neighborhood Hove by Neek Bucks, and so many more. So those are a couple of mine. What about you?
I have two. La Machina by Conway the Machine. One that dropped earlier in the year. Wanted to include it, but didn't make it. Another one that I wanted to include was Roadrunner by Brockhampton. Was one of my favorite listens of the year, but the replay value kind of dipped down for me towards the other half of the year, so didn't crack my top 10, but still a fantastic project. But guys, listen, this is the way it's going to work. We're going to go 10 to 8, 7 to 5, 4 to 2, and then at the end of the list, Lou and I are going to come together for our best albums of 2021. Are you ready to kickstart this list?
Let's do it.
So I'll let you take the floor, man. You go first.
Number 10 for me is The Melodic Blue by Baby Keem. My number 9 is The Off Season by J. Cole. And my number 8 is Donda by Kanye West, which I know people are going to flame me for having so low on the list, but that's just where it's at. What about you?
That's awesome. Number 10, The Melodic Blue by Baby Keem. Number 9, Vince Staples is self-titled. And then number 8, Pray for Haiti by Mac Homie. So,
okay, Melodic Blue at the same spot, right?
Let's talk about this, man.
Yeah,
what do you got going on with it?
Definitely one of the most ambitious debut albums that I've heard in a long time. And I just love how much personality Baby Keem sprinkles into this. I love how unexpected it is. There's so many unpredictable moments throughout the project, such as the oddball cadences from Baby Keem, the quirky flows, and there's so many twists and turns sonically. The fact that you can go from a soul sample based song like Scapegoats all the way to a more industrial sounding track like Vent, and also seeing him take inspiration from 808s and Heartbreak on a song like Scars where you have the same drum progression. So everything was really well executed. But why did you enjoy it?
The unpredictability of the track list. I mean, everything from Trademark USA, Family Ties, Range Brothers. I was a big fan of the beat switches throughout it. Plus, I'm a big fan of Baby Keem's quirky flows and all the types of different cadences that he was able to pack in here. Plus, the bangers on the album like Do Rag Activity and Vent, some of my most played songs of the year. Also, the deluxe was nice because we got Hooligan on there. That was a top 5 song of the year for me on my replay for Apple Music. So there's a lot going on with it, but I think when it comes to originality and the way that it was executed, the Melodic Blue was definitely, up there for me in the way that was executed. But let me move on to my number 9 now. I have Vince Staples' self-titled.
Yes, sure. I'd love to see it here.
Oh my God. One of the most digestible listens of the year, and I think it's because it's only 10 tracks, 22 minutes, and for the most part, I mean, it's Vince Staples' rap performance that keeps me intrigued throughout it, because he's bringing you back in time, giving you introspection on how he grew up, and also I love the rustic sound that Kenny Beats was able to provide for the majority of the track list. So I think also when you're looking at an album, that 22 minutes has so much value because you could bump this in any setting. It's super digestible, and it's one album that I feel as if, you could maybe go to the store at the gas station and have a full album experience just in your own car. So I think that's why I had to include it in my top 10 this year. But take me on to your number 9 right now.
That's a great choice. My number 9 is The Off Season by J. Cole, and this is kind of the album that revived the hip-hop genre. It got the ball rolling back in May when the industry was quiet after the pandemic, and this feels like J. Cole is stretching. It feels like he's warming up for the fall off, and I just love that he had this newfound hunger, rapping with so much more passion, experimenting with these melodic flows, and giving us some of his best rap performances in years. I love the fact that he was connecting with so many new gen artists. I also love the production. I love the fact that he went elsewhere for his beats, tapped in with Boy Wonder and Coleman for the amazing Blueprint Feeling 95 South, and also did his own production on songs like Applying Pressure. And I just love at the end of the day that there was this kind of loose concept. Even though he focused less on the concept, there was still that loose concept of him deciding, that it can go up or down. He can either be a product of his environment or a leader in his community, and he chose to be a leader. And I just love everything that J. Cole did here. Punchlines were on point, bro.
That's another big thing for me. But I'm going to be visiting this album very soon. But at my number 8 position, I have Pray for Haiti by Matt Kanye. And this is a top 3 release for me when it comes to the underground scene. And I love what Matt Kanye was able to do here because he's bringing you through, Haiti and the country that he grew up in and that where he came from and all the misfortunes that happened within his country. And I'm also a big fan of all the sample loops throughout this project. I think it was one of the best produced albums this year. I also love, songs on this album, like let's say the Stellar Ray Theory or even Criminal, the 26th Letter. Like there's so many different songs to pluck out of this track list. And I'm also a big fan of Matt Kanye's rapping and the cadence that he brings on this because he has this smooth and clear cut delivery that, not a lot of rappers are able to achieve now. And while being able to stay on these abstract samples. Plus, I'm also a fan that all of these samples and all the lyrics are inaccessible. It's probably the most mysterious album of the year, and no one executed like Matt Kanye did. But take me on to your next pick.
My number 8 is Donda by Kanye West, an album that I'm sure a lot of you will have at your number 1. And after Jesus is King came out in 2019, a lot of us were kind of thinking, and we had that conversation of like fuck, bro, like is that classic Kanye era over? Is he going to stick to gospel? But with this project, he mastered the blend of gospel music and hip-hop music, and it had one of the best feature lists, if not probably the best feature list of the year. I love the fact that this album was kind of hip-hop's album to God, as you got every feature to talk about those subjects. Not only that, but I love the fact that there is a concept to an album that has 27 songs. That's so rare because he's actually channeling his mother's spirit and leaning on God to gain a sense of clarity as he's going through the biggest loss in his life. One of the biggest losses in his life, which is the divorce with Kim Kardashian. And one of the most experienced album rollouts I've ever experienced. And I think that the vulnerability, the authenticity, and Kanye returning back to form, merging all of these sounds, it was breathtaking, and I'll never forget it, man.
That's an awesome pick. But let's move on to the 7 to 5 selection. So I'll start with mine. Number 7, The House is Burning by Isaiah Rashad. Number 6, The Off-Season by J. Cole. And number 5, Donda by Kanye West. Take it away with your 7 to 5.
So you have The Off-Season and Donda a bit higher.
Absolutely.
Okay. I feel it. Number 7, King's Disease 2 by Nas. Number 6, Bo Jackson by Boldy James and The Alchemist. Number 5, Roadrunner, New Light, New Machine by Brockhampton. Surprised you didn't put it in your top 10.
Absolutely. But I mean, listen, it was just because of the replay value. But I'm going to go on to The House is Burning. I love the atmosphere through this album. I think that when it comes to, being in an album experience, The House is Burning is one of the best albums to do this, in 2021. And I think it's because of, the smooth and relaxed flows that you're going to get from Isaiah. And I also love the versatility within this album because, I've gone through deep listens on this album where I'm, through Genius looking at Isaiah's lyricism. I'm using this album, for my work where, I'm putting it on in the background and I'm able to, just chill out and listen to a beautiful track list. Also, you're getting some of the best Isaiah Rashad tracks that you've gotten in years in songs like Headshots and Rest in Peace Young. And I think also that this is one of my most played albums of the year. So it's definitely something that I had to include in my top 10. It's something that crept in like later because, when it first came out, I was on it, but I wasn't on it. But then as the year ended up progressing, it definitely made my rotation. But go on with your next selection.
That was definitely a grower for me. It got better with every listen, but at the end of the day, it's not one of my top albums of the year, despite me loving Isaiah Rashad's music. But number 7, King's Disease 2 by Nas. And I love that we're living through this renaissance of Nas. He dropped 2 album of the year contenders in back-to-back years, and now he just outdid himself, putting out a sequel that's better than the original. Such a rare feat in hip-hop and, in the film world, everywhere. To have a sequel that's better than the original is so rare, and I just think that Nas has brushed up his skills, the internal rhyme schemes, him prophesizing about certain, things in the industry, things to watch out for, and just being that prophet, that street prophet that we've always known him as was amazing. I think that his chemistry with Hit Boy is beautiful, as Hit Boy provides him with these 90s feeling beats that have these modern polishes as well. Apart from that, I just think that after 30 years, we still hear so much power in Nas's voice, and he's still showing that he hasn't lost a step and that he can adapt to even a modern climate. So everything was on point, and Nas made every word count. And the collaboration with Lauryn Hill was fucking breathtaking.
Amazing.
I'll never forget it. Lauryn Hill, she would have been a top 5 MC of all time, arguably, if she stuck in the game.
I mean, you could still make that argument for Lauryn Hill.
Fucking killed it here, bro.
Absolutely. She killed it this year. But let's go on to the offseason at number 6 for me. And I think what's so cool about this project is the fact that J. Cole returned to a format with a modern twist. So you're going to be getting J. Cole mixtape vibes with modern collaborators like, let's say, Lil Baby, 21 Savage, and Moray. And I love the way that this album was crafted because you're going to get also diversity from J. Cole on songs like Pride is the Devil and Amari. You know, these types of different flows and cadences that you didn't necessarily get on any other J. Cole project. I also love the fact that you're going to get songs like Let Go of My Hand that would slot in perfectly on a track list like For Your Eyes Only. I also love the victory laps on this album like let's say 95 South and Applying Pressure, where, you know, J. Cole is asserting his dominance here, where he's talking about, you know, what he's done to be able to deserve the top spot in this game. And the hunger throughout this track list is absolutely breathtaking. It's so prominent throughout the whole listen, and I think overall I had to include it here because it's one of my most played albums of the year. So take me on to your next selection, man.
Number 6, Bo Jackson by Boldy James and The Alchemist. And these guys are just going on a crazy run. They just dropped an album on Friday. By the time we're recording this, we haven't heard it yet, but Bo Jackson was amazing. It was breathtaking because of the environment that The Alchemist and Boldy James set up, and their in synchronicity between the two of them is outstanding because The Alchemist actually forms these soundscapes that play into the stories of the tracks. On songs like Double Hockey Sticks, there's a second half to the song where Boldy gets a call hearing that his mother's house got raided, and The Alchemist has a beat switch, ups the tempo to create that urgency because Boldy has to move fast in that situation. And overall, it just felt like Boldy James was actually a wise samurai coming back to tell his street anecdotes and to really show us his battle scars. Apart from that, he's kicking it on this album with lyricists such as Freddie Gibbs, Rock Marciano, and so many others. Has great chemistry with them and is absolutely killing it. And I just think that to have these progressive beats, to have the amazing sequencing, The Alchemist just outdoes himself with every release. And like I said, they're actually becoming one of the best duos in the entire genre.
You're going to see this album later, you know, as I get through my list. But that was a great pick. I'm happy you included it. But let me get on to Donda. This cracks my top 5 of the year because I'm going to go through some different points. So this is Kanye's best album since 2016. It's the first Kanye album in nearly 5 years that feels like a Kanye
better than
West
Kids
album.
See Ghosts?
Well, yeah, no. I think if you're including collaborative albums, no.
Okay.
But best feature list of 2021, biggest sleeper feature of 2021 with Fabio Foreign, best produced song of the year in my opinion with Heaven and Hell, best song of the year with Life of the Party, a great concept that was executed pretty well with 27 songs, and the wildest album experience and listening experience that I've gotten all year with the listening parties, the stem player, make your own version. There was so many different things that went into this album that you have to include this in your top 10 of the year. There's so many genius moves that were made by Kanye in the, you know, crafting this project, and when you're going to look back at this in 10 years from now, this is going to be a moment of the decade. Everything that went into this album was absolutely genius. But take me to your next selection, man.
Number 5, Roadrunner, New Light, New Machine by Brockhampton. And if you're familiar with them, they're a group made up of over 10 members. And the fact that they were all able to combine ideas and form this cohesive concept album was genius because it's all actually rooted in the unfortunate passing of Joba's father, who tragically committed suicide. And they actually formed an album as Joba is going through the grieving process, and they come together to provide this group therapy session. And I think that they do an excellent job at that, implementing so many different sounds. The production is ear-bending, it's chaotic. You get inspired songs that have elements of grunge, you have elements of pop, and I just think that Brockhampton delivered their most mature project to date, and they always do a great job of giving you this unfiltered self-expression. And that's what they really gave me here. And all the features, Danny Brown, JPEG Mafia, they all did a great job on this project. And every member performed. Bareface's amazing choruses, Don McLennan's amazing lyricism. Everything was on par, so that's why I had to put it in my top 5. But let's now go on to our number 4, number 3, and number 2. Read me out your picks.
Absolutely. Let's go on to Bo Jackson at my number 4 by Boldy James and The Alchemist. At number 3, I have King's Disease 2 by Nas. And at number 2, I have Sometimes I Might Be Introvert by Little Sims. That cracks my number 2 selection. So Lou, take me on to your 4 to 2. What do you have there?
Number 4, Vince Staples by Vince Staples.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Number 3, Don't Go Telling Your Mama by Topaz Jones.
Fire.
And number 2 is Call Me If You Get Lost by Tyler, the Creator.
That's
Take
awesome.
me through your number 4, man.
All right. So Bo Jackson by Boldy James and The Alchemist. I love the way that this album was produced because it gives you this sort of eerie and mysterious sort of environment where Boldy James is using his imagery and lyricism to talk about all of these street anecdotes and to talk about, of the experiences that he went through when he was going through, let's say these peaks and valleys through, let's say the coke life and the gangster life. And I also love the way that, The Alchemist was able to, form this album, the way that everything came together and felt so cohesive. I also love the amount of songs that I was able to grab out of this track list. So EMPD, Brick Mile to Montana, Steel Wool, Double Hockey Sticks. There's super songs on this album. Like, these are some of the best releases of the year. It's my favorite underground release of the year and probably one of the most underrated albums of the year for that matter. So I had to include it in my top 5. I mean, when I was doing my list, I was including this a bit lower, but I'm like, last minute, you know what? I was really fucking with this album in the past couple of days, bro. I've been junking it. So I had to include it in my top 5.
Could you see it moving up higher in the future on this list?
I don't know, bro. My top 3 is pretty solidified. So I got to see what's going on.
I like the confidence. All right. Let me go on to my number 4, and that's Vince Staples' Self-Titled. And this is the easiest listen of the entire year. Super breezy, only 22 minutes long. And I just love that Vince Staples is giving us these very grim glimpses of his life when he was growing up in Long Beach. And this is so deeply rooted into, his roots growing up and how he felt like he needed to escape a certain lifestyle. And on songs like Are You With That, the intro, he takes you through that every time that he misses that lifestyle, he visits these grave sites and is kind of grounded back to reality as to why he escaped all this. Apart from that, I think that this album gets better with every listen. I think that the production by Kenny Beats was outstanding. It's the most stripped back album from Vince Staples, very minimalistic as you get these R&B samples, these down-tempo beats, also, hard-hitting 808s at certain times. And I just think it's an amazing achievement for Vince Staples to go so deeply inwards, kind of similar to Summertime '06 in that sense, I would say.
That's facts.
And I mean, apart from that, I love the fact that a lot of the songs in this album sound uplifting, but Vince's storytelling and writing is so dark. So that stark contrast really made this album stand out to me. And I think that it really is the easiest listen. So if you guys haven't heard it, please put it in your rotation. Like I said, it will get better with every replay. So take me to your number 3.
By the way, I like that you had it so high on your list. I didn't know if you were going to include it or not.
It grew on me so heavy, bro.
Oh, it's such a great album. But let me go on to King's Disease 2 by Nas. And every time that he releases a project, I feel as if he gets more meditative with every time he delivers an album, because King's Disease 1 was good, but it's definitely not on the level of the second installment. And they just upgraded everything here, from the production choices to the way that Nas was writing and the way that he was more meditative with his approach. I also think that that 3-track run of Store Run, Moments, and Nobody is one of the most impressive runs of the year. Count Me In was a top 10 song of the year for me. Lauryn Hill has a top 3 feature of the year on this album, and Nas Is Good is one of my favorite outros of the year. So when you look at King's Disease 2 as a whole, it was just so well crafted, and I love Nas and Hit Boy's chemistry because, yes, the production is very lavish and very grand, but it's not necessarily too overpowering to where, it takes away from Nas's lyricism and where you can't necessarily, hear everything he's saying or understand everything he's saying. So definitely a top 3 album of the year for me. I originally had this at number 1, like midway through the year. As soon as I heard it, I'm like, wow, this is definitely a great album, but take me on to your next selection.
Number 3, Don't Go Telling Your Mama by Topaz Jones. This is my sleeper pick for the entire year, and if you're not familiar with Topaz Jones, please check out Don't Go Telling Your Mama. This is one of the best concept albums of the entire year, and there's actually a short film that was released for it, and it ended up winning an award at the Sundance Film Festival. So any album that has a film attached to it, you know that it's going to be cinematic, and this project is about the self-discovery and, Topaz trying to find his identity as he kind of takes you through his upbringing and takes you through what his family taught him in terms of lessons, and also what molded him as a man and what he learned, what it means to be a man and a black man living in America. So it was really well explored, and I love the fact that this is the perfect blend of funk and hip hop, one of the best blends I've ever seen. I think that his flows, his cadences are very witty, they're very entertaining, and I love how aquatic the rhythm bass guitars are. I love the electric guitars, the entire soundscape, and I think that Topaz Jones actually executes on the smoothest and catchiest hooks of the entire year. I have not been able to put this down yet, and it's one of those albums that actually makes me feel like lighting up a big fat blunt and just chilling out in the car, even though I don't smoke. That's the craziest part. It made me feel like doing that even though I don't fucking smoke. And also the pitch shifts that, Topaz Jones introduces here reminds you of what Frank Ocean did on Blonde or what Tyler, the Creator, did on Igor. So one of the best concept albums of the year. The transitions from singing to rapping and how rhythmically in tune Topaz is. It's all genius, but take me to your number 2 now.
Sometimes I Might Be Introvert by Little Sims, and I know you're probably going to have this on your list somewhere. Well, I mean, we're narrowing down pretty easy now, but where do I start? I mean, the beautiful and lush production that was, provided by Inflow, the incredible storytelling by Little Sims throughout the whole track list, and this tight-knit and personal introspective storytelling sort of onslaught that was provided by Little Sims through, let's say, songs like Little Q Part 1 and Part 2. Introvert for me is a top 10 intro of the year. Little Sims' ability to, deliver on so many different moving parts, like, let's say, singing at certain times or harmonizing, even some different types of vocal pitches that she was able to hit while being able to provide this rich lyricism was super impressive. And I think that this was also the biggest surprise of the year for me, because this came out at a very hot time. It came out at the time where, CLB and Donda were battling it out, and this passed both of them for me. I mean, when we're going to look back at like what was the biggest sleeper pick of the year, this is probably going to be it, because there has to be more conversation around this project. I mean, it's a masterpiece. There's nothing loose with it. And the fact that Little Sims was so personal and was so raw and genuine through the whole track list really added like this extra layer, I would say, of personality for me throughout the track list and relatability at that, because I was listening to it and I'm like, wow, okay, like there's a lot of subject matter here that I could relate to and that helped me get through certain experiences. So I haven't put this album down. It had to make my list, but take me on to your next selection, man.
Number 2, Call Me If You Get Lost by Tyler, the Creator. And it literally felt like I was, taking a vacation with Tyler, the Creator. That's what it felt to me as I, listened to this at the start of the summer. I was cooped up in my house and I needed that escapism. And that's what Tyler provided with this project. The atmosphere that he creates is the best of the entire year. You literally feel like you're traveling from country to country. If it's Cannes, France, all the way to Geneva, Switzerland, I feel like I'm there with him, with DJ Drama. And I love the fact that this was an ode to the mixtapes that he loved. This was his version of a Gangsta Grills mixtape, and every song hit. I mean, I think that what you have to admire is that Tyler is a jack of all trades and that he wrote, produced, and composed every song on here, and we need to appreciate, him wearing that badge of honor. And I love how this was a return to rapping for him because he killed it. And on a technical level, this is his best rapping ever, in my opinion. So I had to slot in at number 2. Such an immersive experience for me. But without further ado, this is it, guys. Our number 1 albums of 2021. Do you know what my number 1 pick is?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what my number 1 is?
Yeah, it's Call Me If You Get Lost, right?
And you have Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, right?
Exactly
so
right,
we
bro.
just swapped the 1 and 2 there. So let me ask you this before we get into the selections. Why did you put Sometimes I Might Be Introvert over Call Me If You Get Lost? Like, why do you think Sometimes I Might Be Introvert gets that number 1 place for you?
I think as in terms of the concept being executed from track 1 to track 19 on Simbi, it's better done. I think the performances are more versatile on Simbi, and I just think that the production is more, I would say, grandiose. So I think that's why I would put it over. What about you?
I would just say the soundscape that Tyler provided, I think, was more entertaining for me. I also think that maybe the track list was more focused because of the fact that Tyler had his hands in everything and that it was really his vision being executed. But I'll get into the reason why I had this on my best album experience this year. And it's because, I think that what Tyler did here was really fucking legendary. Like, we're going to look back at this album and be like, whoa, this was an impressive album. I mean, created atmosphere the best out of any other album this year. The best executed track list, as I said, because Tyler handled everything. The love triangle narrative that you would find on other albums like Igor was brought back here and executed just as well. You're getting some of the best Tyler Creator rapping that you've gotten in years. The Tyler Baudelaire alter ego, was greatly executed. The storytelling efforts with Safari, top 10 song of the year with Hot Wind Blows. One of the best singles dropped this year with Lumberjack. There's just so much to love within this album, and I also love the fact that, as you said, you feel like you're on vacation. It's just a breezy listen. It's so nice as a soundscape, and when it comes to ear pleasure, this is the album that really knocks it out of the park for me. And I mean, man, I'm just so happy that he delivered this and he went back to rapping. But take me through Sometimes I Might Be Introvert, man.
Yeah, so like you said, when everyone was debating what was better between Donda and CLB, out of nowhere, Little Sims drops her magnum opus. And I think that I love how it's a fairy tale inspired hip hop record, as you have, amazing narration from Emma Corrin. And I mean, no album comes close to this for me at all. I think that you get the most versatile performances of the entire year on this project because Little Sims, actually, showcases her singing on songs like Protect My Energy. She actually also goes into conscious rapping. She does a UK grime style on Rolling Stone, and she just is all over the place. She covers every area, and I think the production feels like it's coming straight out of a James Bond score. The orchestral arrangements are flawless, and everything from the sample placements really hit home for me. And I love that the meaning of this album is about the beauty of the yin and the yang, the fact that everything has kind of contains a seed of its opposite, and that's what the album's about. It's her struggling between finding a balance between Little Sims the artist and Simbi the person. Also, finding a balance between the rich and the poor, the introvert, the extrovert. That's what she tackles on this album, and by the end of it, she actually finds a balance within her roots and her finding confidence. And songs like I Love You, I Hate You, where she actually finds empathy for her father who abandoned her. Songs like Little Q Part 2, where she actually goes into someone else's shoes and tells a story for the voiceless people that don't get their stories told often. Everything was brilliant, and it wipes everything out for me.
I had to include it in my top 3, man. It was definitely one of the best listens of the year. I was actually considering putting this at my number 1, but I ended up putting Call Me If You Get Lost. So guys, let us know your top 10 albums of the year so far. It's been an absolute ride, guys. We've done so many different album reviews this year, and let us know in the comment section, what was your favorite album review from us this year? I want to know what you guys think about it. Plus, just a reminder, Wednesday, December 29th, NFR's award show. It's going to be a massive live stream. We're going to have a bunch of different categories. We're going to be having giveaways. It's going to be such a fun time, and it's going to be a great way to end off 2021. So guys, if you like this episode, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching this, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks for watching the full video, and if you're new to NFR, be sure to hit that subscribe button, as we'll be keeping you guys updated with the latest album releases in terms of update videos, album reviews, and our own original series on the weekly. And we also have our Patreon plan available in the description below, where you can access weekly bonus content and also access to our Discord. So be sure to check out all of that, and we'll catch you in the next one.